Osiris.
And we're live. Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Here
We're
we
back
are.
again. Show number 7 of 8. It's hard to believe that tonight is the last one of the tour. Very, very, very sad.
I know, it's really sad. We were talking before, but I think Trey's going to be the saddest.
Yeah. You know what? I think, we knew that everybody in Goose and, was going to be so happy to be on this tour. Touring with Trey is huge for them. But yeah, it's really blown me away. Obviously, we know how much Trey loves playing music with anybody and, how much fun he was going to have. But I think it's exceeded my expectations how much fun he's visibly been having, learning how to play with them. And, now, seeing some pictures coming out yesterday of him, it looked like he was showing Rick his way around like the Mesa Boogie amp,
Yeah, that was so cute. Like looking at the manual together. It's like, This is really adorable. This is just adorable. Yeah.
It was adorable. That's like the exact word I was going to use. I do love that picture just because I feel like it is representative of everything about this tour. Right. And in a lot of ways, this is Goose learning how to be a bigger band, which is their second go around of doing this. Right. They did it with Pigeons before, like right before the pandemic. And they learned how to be like kind of that mid-sized band where they were playing like a couple thousand people venues. And like now they kind of are going along with Trey and learning how to be an even bigger band, which, I mean, it's impossible to say what's going to happen after this, but I would assume you're going to at least have like a couple of these arena size shows a year, if not in the Northeast and Colorado, but maybe even elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. So it reminds me of when Fish toured with Santana, and they were kind of doing that too. They were doing a lot of these, like, this is what it's like to be in an arena, and this is what it looks like backstage, like learning all of that stuff. I think it's big for the management. I think it's big for the crew. I think there's a lot of people that are learning right now, and it's really exciting. And I think Trey really shines in this mentorship role. I mean, he's just super into it. And I think this is one of those moments when he's really able to kind of be that elder statesman that I think he's really like earned that spot, and I think that's so cool for him. And I think of how amazing it would have been if like Jerry was in that role for him. And obviously Jerry wasn't able to do that, but I think, for Trey, I think this is a really great like way to give back, and it's invigorating and inspiring for him too, obviously.
Mm-hmm. We can dream of what a 1993 JGB Fish tour would have looked like.
Oh my God, I would have been like crying every night.
Yeah. Oh man, that would have been right in my wheelhouse. I would have been there.
Right?
Sure.
Me too, for sure. Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
would have been something.
I kind of thinking about this, I was going to go back and try to find some interviews of Fish when they were doing that Santana tour, because those Santana tapes I got when I was very young, even younger than Ryan is now. And, and those were like one of the things that hooked me on Fish. I think I got like a CD actually when they, you could get like those bootleg CDs with like live recordings on them. And that one really pulled me in. I was like more of a Dead fan at that point, and then kind of became an even bigger Fish fan. And I just think about, people just getting pulled into Goose now with all of this Tab stuff because they're just hearing all the stuff for the first time. And it's so exciting, so cool. And also sad that this is it. This is the last one. Mm-hmm. For now. I think Jeff had a pretty cryptic social media post today where he said, last Tab Boost show for now.
Yeah.
So did
we'll
he? I didn't see that. Oh wow.
Yeah,
he's been liking the Twitter lately and giving all kinds of hints. And
Jeff has been absolutely A+ on Twitter lately. Just in terms of just like, posting things and responding to other people and dunking on the haters repeatedly. It's been great. I'm curious, we've talked a lot about this tour, people coming to their first Goose show after being into Fish. And I'm curious, how you react as a Fish fan who may have some sort of prejudice against Goose if they open with Slow Ready. The first thing you get is the auto tune. How does the jaded Fish fan react?
first of all, if you're not into this song, then you don't get life. I mean, this song is so sexy and so awesome and just
Slow Ready.
So great, right? It's like, it's so great. And I think for me, opening with this is kind of like a badass move. To me, it says they're like really settled into you and they don't have to come out with like, I love the big banger opening. And I think that they've been doing a great job with that. But I think this is a pretty cool, like, ease into like their sound and what they do best. And it is something that Phish could never do. I mean, this is so different from what Phish does. So I think it was an awesome move. Love this version. Love this song.
I'm a huge Slow Ready fan. I recently, for this tour, El Goose Times, which is a fan distributed magazine that they give out at shows, they did a collab issue with Surrender to the Flow. And thankfully, John Caruso asked me to write an article for it. And I wrote a little piece called Hooked that they, I think, have a recurring thing. And it's like the moment that really pulled you in with Goose. And the funny thing is I did not write about some kind of like huge jam. I wrote about Slow Ready when they played at South Farms in Connecticut, which is not too far from where I grew up. And yeah, that song is an awesome song and it has such an amazing build in it. And I'm glad that they played it on this tour. It kind of seemed like they weren't going to play it. And it just, the peak section of that tune really has a way of grabbing you. And I just absolutely love the song. And I love it as an opener. I don't think it's ever been done as an opener before.
I don't think so.
I thought that was killer. Yeah, that was killer.
It's open second sets a number of times, but I don't think it's ever opened a show.
Right.
I think it also is really indicative of what Goose does really well, which is like write really great songs that have awesome hooks and just choruses that just draw you in and like are almost, I think a lot of their music to me is really hypnotic in a way that's like really infectious. And I think that this song is a perfect example of that.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And then, Peter's been doing this a lot this year where he kind of takes out the ending of Slow Ready and will do something cool with the arpeggiator that usually leads into the next song, whether it's something they jam on for a few minutes. But this was cool. He kind of, took a 30 seconds or so in the spotlight on his own, just kind of playing with the arpeggiator on there before Rick, landed gently in the intro to Jive 1. And, this song always kills. Great first set tune, great to follow up, the obviously Slow Ready with just like a nice rocker, Rick and Peter trading licks nicely on the intro. Just always a great song.
Killer.
Yeah, really great. Yeah. It's fun, like up-tempo, good move to open, like to go next. I think they're really like starting to nail these one set. A one set show is hard, especially if you're a band that likes to play like a full 2-set show all the time. So I think they're doing a really good job. It's hard to construct these.
And also it ends our Jive drought. We have not had any of the 3 Jive songs played on this tour up to this point. And I think even going back a few shows into the October leg of Fall Tour, the last Jive Lee before last night was 15 shows previously, which is an absolutely insane gap for that song.
I love this song.
Yeah.
I love Jive Lee. I don't know if I really knew it before I listened to the show from last night, and it's great. Like, I really love the jam that it gets into.
Yeah, the funny thing about Lee, and well, Jive 1 and Jive Lee, I kind of see those as like the emblematic Goose songs. Like when I first started listening to Goose, those were the ones that I was like, how many of these do they have? And like Drive kind of like sounds a little bit like it too. And it took me a while, but they're such fun songs, and the lyrics are so cool. I thought for sure they were going to play a Jive in Connecticut, because I think it has like a lot of deep meaning about growing up in Connecticut and things like that, which is interesting because I felt.
For those of you who don't know, Jive 1 used to be called Wiltonian Jive.
Was it actually named that at one point in time?
Yes, and then when Rick wrote Jive 2, they changed the name from Wiltonian Jive to Jive 1.
Oh, cool!
Right on. Yeah, in the old recordings, he would end it and say Wiltonian Jive. But I thought it was just like a thing that he said. I didn't realize they actually had it titled that way. That's fascinating. But, and then Jive Lee, which is, if you really like kind of jam bands playing funk, then this is the song that I would use to introduce you to Goose.
Oh my God, no wonder I like it
so well. Yeah. It's
now I get it.
Like if you dig 97 Phish, you're gonna love Jive Lee, I hope. Maybe that's not universally true, but I think you would.
Yeah, I wouldn't describe it as the funkiest song. Like maybe just great riff and there's clav in it a lot. But I think it's a great jam. It starts off in a great place and it's a very classic jam bandy sounding groove. So I agree with you on that. And yeah, this one was like
saying,
8
jam
or 9
bands
minutes
playing funk, not like funk bands. So
right.
No,
it's a whole different thing. Yeah. Like
okay,
cow
It's a
funk.
whole different thing.
Well, yeah, this was good. It was like 8 or 9 minutes last night, I think. And, it's always, I'll look at it and I'll be like, oh, it was only 8 or 9 minutes, but it's 8 or 9 minutes of just the jam. There's no song part to get through before they get to the improv. So this has the same amount of jamming in it than like a 17-minute Arrow does, which is, interesting to look at. So but solid Jively here for sure. And then, and then we got Bob Don with, very, very excited to see With pop up again. Only a one Bob Don gap in between Withs, so that's pretty exciting.
Wait, explain what you mean there, because
yes,
I don't know.
So
I was just about to jump into explaining here.
Yes,
yeah.
So we've kind of dubbed it With, which is that like ending jam over like the chorus progression where Peter's on piano. It's more gentle than the rest of the song. They've only done it 6 times to date. And it is awesome. And
so it's kind of like the curtain With.
That's why we started calling it With.
Okay.
But yeah, it's similar type deal. Bob Don also appeared on the Undecided EP that was surprise released yesterday under the name Undecided, which is the original name for the song when Rick wrote it when he was like 14.
Oh, and so they put it out labeled Undecided?
Yes, but they did still call it Bob Don on the Nugs release of last night's show, so we can continue to call it Bob Don.
Well, I have a couple of thoughts about that. So, I want to explain Bob Don With a little bit more. So, Bob Don does have a very natural ending when the lyrics end, the song usually ends.
Yeah.
Then sometimes they will play this very kind of chill outro jam that will last like anywhere between 3 and 5 minutes. And it's a really cool little jam. And that's all it is. It's so simple. It's just like the song ends. And sometimes it ends and you're sad because you really just want that little extra jam. And then sometimes they add it on like they did last night. And I think the funny thing about Bob Don With is I think we're the only people who talk about it. This is not like a greater Goose community thing. We just talk about it a lot on the pod because Kevin, who's on the pod, really enjoys
Bob Don.
So there you go.
But then not With
guy.
With With, I mean, if you like Bob Don, you gotta like the With.
You like it With, okay.
But yeah. And then the other thing about Undecided is I wonder was it originally named Undecided? Because Bob Don is actually named after a person. Mm-hmm. So they can't really release a song that's named after a person. So I think maybe that's the reason why they did that.
Well, it's also on the coach's notes for the show when they debuted Bob Don in early 2020. The coach's notes say that it was originally titled Bob O. John.
Bob O. John, which it was on set list as Bob O. John for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my suspicion. So we'll do some digging, I think, and maybe we'll follow up.
We do have from a pretty reliable source that it was originally called Undecided, and that's why it's Undecided on the EP. But gotcha. Yeah, I'm curious about the different names and why.
Yeah, why? So Bob Don is named after the principal at Wilton High School, whose name I think is Robert Donaldson, right? Is it Robert Donaldson? Something like that.
I don't know, but I know it was about the principal.
Yeah.
How lucky is this guy to be immortalized in a Goose song?
Yeah, it's funny because there's a lot of Wilton folks on the Goose Facebook group. And whenever this topic comes up, they talk about how much they dislike the guy. So it's kind of an interesting thing. But.
That's really funny.
Yeah. Well, after Bob Don, we get Factory Fiction, which was completely caught me off guard. Only a 3-show gap since the last one of Mohegan, the shortest gap in the song's history. The second shortest now being the 11-show gap in between Louisville and Philly earlier this year. But really, really surprised to hear this one pop up again so soon. But above average jam on it. I think really, really good dissonant stuff.
I really like this song too. It's really cool. I mean, I didn't know it until I heard them play it at Mohegan, and I really like it. I think it's cool too that they're playing stuff that they like played with Trey, but then without Al. You know, I think it's cool that they're kind of like mixing that up so that you can kind of hear it, what it sounds like without Trey too.
Yeah, I would love to hear why they played it again so soon.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. I wonder if it has something to do with Coach just having the baby, and, you know, maybe it's like some kind of nod to Coach. But yeah, it's surprising that they played it so soon. The funny thing about Factory Fiction is when you think about it in the whole entire Goose catalog, it's not like, I don't know, it's not like the Grateful Dead busting out St. Stephen when they play it, you know, like but people really do get excited about it. And I don't know, I guess I'm surprised by that.
Yeah.
Because in the grand scheme of things, I think, you know, Arcadia is a better song. So I don't understand why like folks get
Arcadia
so
is an
thrilled
amazing
about it.
Song. But what is the average? Like, how often is it played? Really, I mean, sometimes things like people like things just because they're more rare, even if you know, like
it's now been played 12 times in the band's history, 5 of them being in 2022. So it used to be like it was a much bigger deal bust out, like, you know, when they busted it out at during Bingo Tour in 2020, they hadn't played it in front of an audience since June of 2018. So like, you know, 2 years, like 250 shows or something, or more than that. But, you know, they played it at Coach's wedding in the fall of 2019. It's a song that he loves a lot. And then, you know, it got 3 plays in 2021. And it's kind of, you know, become like a special occasion song. Like, you know, you can kind of be like, okay, like maybe they'll play it at this show. You know, they played it at the closed the second night at the Mission Ballroom last fall, which was like kind of a special occasion, like ending of their fall tour. You know, sold out 2 nights at the, you know, 5,000 capacity Mission, which was a big deal for them. You know, they played it in Louisville in February, where like that's right near. But Kentucky has always been like a big Goose thing, and like Covington specifically, and so that was pretty close, and so big deal for them. And then Philly in March, when, you know, it was the end of this absolutely incredible winter tour. So it's interesting to see it pop up again so soon, and I would be very interested to know why.
I mean, it maybe seems like, I mean, it sounds like one of those songs like Glide or Mound. Like for me, it's not like I love those songs, but they're special. And so when you hear them, you're like, people go crazy because it's like, you don't hear them that often, right? So, yeah. But yeah, maybe it's going to start entering more of a regular rotation. You know, maybe they were.
I mean, it could be. We've been talking about that for a while now, which like all of a sudden it's like not so much of a rarity. There are some other songs that are far more rare now.
Turkish Hills.
Well, yeah, not that song. But
Turkish Hills, Megan, is a song that Peter wrote about an ex-girlfriend that was played a few times and not in a few years, and it's not going to get played. So
no,
it's a running joke.
It's a running joke, and it's a really bad song. I mean, it is not a good song.
I
love Goose, and I will fluff everything that they do. I will never fluff that song. It's not good.
That's
it is
amazing.
Not a good
Big
song.
money bust out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. Someday, you know, like in year 20, maybe they play it again and everybody has a laugh. But I don't think it's coming anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, then we get Trey on stage for the Mod Anastasio. Mod Anastasio.
This is the first one that he's
coined by Noah Ray before this tour or during this tour, but it's been his Twitter name for a while. Unfortunate for Noah that they played it in between the 2 shows that he was seeing. But
it always happens that way. Yeah,
it's a great name. It ended up as the title of my Jam Base recap today. So shout out to Noah for the great nickname for this. And wow, what a jam!
Yeah, this was awesome. This was like one of those things when I was listening to it, doing something else, and then stopped and was like, okay, wait a minute. I really want to listen to this. Like, what is happening right now? This is really good. Yeah, it's a great jam.
I mean, this is the one I've been waiting for. I've been saying this since probably second episode that we recorded. This is the one that's going to be an absolute heater. I mean, it met my expectations, I guess. I was maybe hoping for a little bit more like fireworks, but I mean, absolutely killer jam. I think it was like that one Goose song that I thought Trey could absolutely destroy. I look forward to maybe Trey having another opportunity to play the song. But, the funny thing about this jam was like Trey was so excited to play it. I mean, before they even got into the lyrics, when they were in the intro, Trey's just like absolutely ripping it up. And then Rick starts to sing, and then like he just like abruptly stops, like, oh, like sorry.
Like, oh yeah, sorry. The lyrics.
Yeah. Can we just jam right now?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think he sounded so natural on this, taking the solo right before the jam. Like, he just sounded amazing. And yeah, he and Rick obviously are so comfortable on stage and playing guitar with one another at this point. They just killed it throughout this jam. I really love, Goose does this frequently, but bringing Trey along for the ride when they kind of deconstruct the jam and then come around for a huge build right before the ending. It was great to hear. But I really enjoyed all 20 minutes of this Madhavan.
Yeah, it's been great. What do you think that Trey's played like the best with them? Like, what do you think has sounded the best? What song?
In terms of song or jam?
Mm-hmm. I guess either one.
How about both, Ryan? Give us both. Yeah. I've got answers, but you go first.
My favorite jam of the tour so far with Trey is still the All I Need from Portland. The first thing that he played with Goose, still the best in my opinion. Has yet to be topped. I would love for them to top it tonight. That would be very exciting. But I don't know. It's tough. I don't know if I could, just based on a song. I don't know if I could pick. I mean, I really loved how he sounded on Factory Fiction at Mohegan.
I thought that was amazing. Yeah. How about you, Neil?
So I agree with Ryan. The best jam so far has been All I Need in Maine. I mean, that was just crazy. I was there, so I'm might suffer from attendance bias on that one, but
me too.
It was you were.
No, I think I heard it. I wasn't there, and I thought it was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean they were doing. I mean, we talked about this maybe a couple episodes ago, but there's two aspects of what can happen in a Trey sit-in. You can just have like a guitar dogfight, or you can have just true improvisation, because these guys are all really good at it. I mean, Trey is the master, right? He's the best living jam band guitarist around, indisputably, right?
Yeah.
And the things he can do creatively are just so vast, right? And so yeah, like sure, he can shred, and so can Rick, but they can also really dive into jams. And I think that's what happened last night a little bit, and in Maine as well. So like, if I'm thinking about my two favorites, it's probably Maine first, and then last night second. And I think there was an element of this jam, this Madhavan jam, it did have a little bit of that dogfight guitar stuff, and it was really, really good. But it also did have a little exploration on like Madhavan, and I think that is also awesome. So yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder what they're going to do tonight. And then I guess one of my favorite things they've done on this tour wasn't even with Trey; it was with the horns.
Yeah, the fish.
When they did
insane.
Fish in the Sea. Yeah. I really, really enjoyed that. So like I put that up there with some of my favorite moments also at that show. So I might be kind of a little bit biased, but
I'm totally biased about that show too.
Yeah. So good. So much fun.
Yeah. It was so good. Yeah. It's interesting because I think that I'm really curious about wanting to hear them do more improv with Trey, because I'm definitely still trying to like understand what kind of jams Goose does. It's like when you listen to a lot of Fish, you kind of have a lot of the structures and the formulas and the kind of, I don't know, what to expect a little bit more. And so you can stay kind of in it more. And so with Goose, I'm still trying to figure that out. Like, so it's been cool to listen to them. And I know it's a little unfair because I've been listening so much to this run, and it's only first sets, and I think that that's a little bit trickier when you're also then playing with guests, and like, it's not their true, it's not going to be their true improv style at all. But, yeah, it's been really, I feel like so many of those moments have been amazing. I think that emotional moment when Trey does that like guitar riff in Hunger Sight is kind of like, maybe because it's like when I saw them at Radio City, it was just like one of those musical moments I'll like never forget, that I can still get like chills when I think about it. And so even hearing him do that the other night, I don't remember where it was, but it was just, that is just so incredible. Like that is just one of those moments that's like just it'll be seared into my mind forever. You know, it's just one of those like unforgettable like things to hear him riff that. It's incredible.
Yeah. When I'm like 80 years old and somebody asks me about 2022, I won't just respond in words. I will just hum those 4 or 5 notes that Trey plays when he kicks in. Yeah. Everybody hears it. I mean, it's like almost like a jingle. Like it just gets in your head and you just can't get it out. It's bananas.
It's so good to hear him do that. It's like, it's so good. I was like walking outside. Yeah, exactly. But I was walking outside and listening to that the other day, and I was like, it's just like bliss. It just fills your whole body with bliss, you know? Really good stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And so after Madhavan, they bring out Russ, to take over Jeb's drum kit. I like how Jeff just came, stood next to Trevor, had his mic, got a cowbell, tambourine going. But yeah, Animal, very solid version. Love the contributions from Trey. But I was a little bit disappointed that we weren't going to get a 12-piece Animal or a 13-piece Animal to close the show. But
that would have been great. Yeah. I'm sure they've got something else planned that's going to be pretty insane tonight.
Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that tonight, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit speculating about tonight, but I'm hoping that tonight ends up being a little bit longer than the other shows. I'm sure they're not going to want to stop playing as much as we don't want them to stop playing. But I think it's going to be special either way, like every show has been.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, didn't Goose already put something out that said they're going to leave it all out there tonight? So
I think they did
on their Instagram. Yeah. It's always a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and Jeff has alluded to that on his Twitter as well. But on the note of the 12-piece Animal that you were talking about before, my hope is that tonight that Trey Band does play a Goose song. Like that's the one thing I want. I mean, they did a Billy song, or they can just do like Rick and Trey on acoustic guitars doing like, I mean, who knows? Like anything. It doesn't matter. I don't care what it is, but
Jackaroo or something.
Jackaroo would be sick.
I know.
I mean, I am like the president of the Rick Singing Jerry Songs fan club.
Oh my God.
I mean, nothing is better. Yeah.
Same.
So
when
good.
they did that at Radio
Ship of Fools. Okay. So here we go. So they play the show, nice and long sit-ins, whatever. They start out the encore with O Trey Below.
I think it would be great.
Rick, Peter, Jeff, and Trey on acoustics.
Wow. I was trying to follow that. I was like, okay, Rick, but okay, got it.
Yes. O Trey Below.
Okay.
But let's talk about this tab set from last night. I was, a little bit blown away by it last night. Trey definitely seemed from the jump, more down to jam with tab last night. Things felt more adventurous, a little bit longer. Like, previously this tour, we haven't really seen things go over 10 minutes very much with tab. Last night, there were a bunch that were in the 10 to 12 range, but they're packing a lot in there. I want to give last night's MVP award to Ray Pachkowski because
he's amazing.
Some of the textures that he's doing and the way he plays off Trey when they get into a jam is phenomenal. And also shout out and all the love to Ciro. I hope he's okay. I hope he's back at the show tonight. Trey mentioned before the beginning of the set that he had a health emergency and had to miss the show last night. So there was a big dimension missing to Tab last night, with his contributions. And, we didn't get Trevor, Ben, and Jeff on percussion for the encore as well, I assume because of that. But let's talk about this set, a couple songs that we hadn't seen yet this tour. Never Needed You Like This Before opener. Great call.
Opener. Always a good opener.
Mm-hmm.
Always a good opener. Yeah, didn't go very far, but I think that definitely the set in general, like you were saying, Ryan, more interested in jamming. I think that Trey maybe has been hearing some of the haters saying that they're like bored with Tab, just playing like incredible music and want to hear some jams. So they went for it. Yeah, it's great. I mean, this is just a solid set, high energy the whole time. It's cool to see how he's fitting in these new, the Mercy songs and the other and the Lonely Trip songs into his sets. I think he's doing a really great job with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then, after Never Needed You Like This Before, Blazon and Wolfman's both getting that kind of slightly extended jam treatment. Great interplay between Trey and Ray on both of these, getting into like a quieter, groovy zone. And, as always, the backbone of Tab, you've got the rhythm section of Russ and Desron just killing it.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, and this is kind of like piggybacking on what Megan was saying, is like I think a lot of people are starting to say like I've had enough Tab, but like I'm like starting to enjoy Tab more and more the more I listen to them, even though there's like a lot of repeats. There's like a ton of repeats, and like historically I've never been a Tab guy. I mean, I've been seeing Fish for a very, very long time, and I've always been reluctant to really get into Tab, but now after this tour and this show in particular, this one, and I think Mohegan stand apart from the rest of the tour as very, very, very good sets. And yeah, I'm getting more hooked as we go. It's I mean, last night was very, very good.
Yeah, and I think Tab isn't the kind of band that you would go on like Tab tour. You wouldn't see like 10 Tab shows, in a row. You know what I mean? They're just not going to be as varied as like a Fish or sounds like Goose either. So it's hard to compare that. They have a smaller catalog. They do a different thing. So I think that like that is why people are talking like this too. But I'm glad to hear it. I agree. I think this set and the set from Mohegan are the best. And I also just think, I love Tab. I'd love to go see them. And I think that they are really like stretching some of the stuff out. The whole second, like the last half of this set too is like fantastic. 46 days, it's like so good. Oh, first though, Blazing Down the Twisted Wire. What did you guys think about that?
I like this song. Hadn't heard it before this tour. I think it's a good song. Nothing crazy about it. I think I will take Hey Stranger and Roll Like a River in terms of Mercy songs over this one, but can't complain.
Yeah, I love
Neil, you look like you have an opinion.
No, I was just going to say, like, I am super not familiar with the song. So, like, last night might have been the second time I heard it after I, like, listened to Mercy once when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then Sand, which is, always great. Shine, I love. Great song, highlights, Tab and the backing vocals, and they're always having fun when they play it. Very upbeat.
Shine sounds amazing with Tab. It's so beautiful. I was happy to hear it at Mohegan and really happy to hear it again last night.
Mm-hmm. And then 46 Days, as you mentioned, Megan, this absolutely ripped. Another one, just like, the About to Runs that we've seen this tour, the horns left the stage, just left, that classic Tab sound with drums, bass, keys, and Trey. And, just amazing. This is really when the interplay between Trey and Ray started to stick out to me. Just, the way that, not only that Trey plays off them, but that like Ray kind of sets up things for Trey to just, shred. Like it was amazing. I listened back to it this morning and just blown away. It feels a lot longer than 10 minutes.
It really does. There's a lot of like nice effect pedals. It really gets out there, and there's really, really great peaks at the end. Definitely worth a listen.
Yeah, I listened to this while I was walking the dog today again, and I listened to this twice because I really enjoyed it. I was gonna, kind of just focus on the Taboo stuff after, but this was just so good that it was just, it was worth a second listen.
Mm-hmm. And then we kick off the sit-ins, bring Rick and Peter out. It was funny. He brought Peter out, and I think Rick was having an issue backstage or something, like, so he didn't come on right at the same time as Peter. And so I was like, oh, it's just Peter coming out, and then Rick came out, which we mentioned briefly earlier, but Rick had a new amp going last night. For those of you familiar with the classic early 90s Trey Mesa Boogie into a wooden cabinet sound, that's what Rick was using last night, which was really interesting. Sounded more gritty than his tone normally does. And so I'm curious if it was a one-time thing, if it's going to show up tomorrow, if it's still, his amp come Goosemas in December. But, it definitely added a different dimension to his sound and a different, as I mentioned, like a grittiness to it.
It's really cool. I also love how Trey said that this tour has been magical before they started playing together. Very cute.
Yes.
I think There might be some tears backstage tonight after the show.
Yeah, they would have had the Madhavan tears last night, but
yes, they would have. Something tells me that this is not the end, right? Like we talked about that earlier. I think Jeff left a pretty strong hint. I think, Ryan, when you and I ran into like a couple of folks from the Goose crew, they were like saying like, we could do this every year. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to do it like next year at this time. That would be amazing.
I mean, it'd be nice.
Although,
if they got,
I don't know.
like, a little run-in.
I know. I mean, I love Fall Fish Tour, so like I'd have to be a little sad if we didn't have a Fall Fish Tour again. But maybe they would do. I really love the Tab like New Year, like in like January, February. That's when like I think they always do like great shows. Then that's when they recorded that album, you know, the Burn It Down album, which is so great. And I think that like that would be an awesome time of year because like Fish is never playing then. Like that would be great. I would love that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that too. Like when this is happening, Fish isn't playing. So like I can see how some people would say like I'd rather this doesn't happen because I want Fish to play.
I think both can happen.
Yeah.
I mean, probably not at the same time. Or
not at the same time, but like you can have a Fish tour and a Tab tour. Like, you know, last fall he had a 2-week Tab tour at the end of September and then had a Fish tour in October. Like it can be done.
And that Fish tour was fire. So like maybe this is a good lead up to that. Yeah.
Big fall 2021 guy. Anyway, so this Mr. Completely from last night, you know, second one that they've done as a collaboration this tour. Absolutely amazing pick once again. Highlight of this to me was this duel that happened between Trey and Natalie during her solo. That was amazing. Them trading licks. Peter and Ray having another cute, you know, double keyboardist moment in there, but overall amazing. Yeah, and Rick and Trey all over it.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about this one. Yeah, I wasn't sure you were going to say something. I was trying to get.
I know you're being very respectful.
So there was quite a bit of Peter in this, and I was really excited by that because I think this whole entire tour, it's kind of been the Rick and Trey show, and Peter's awesome. Like I love Peter's playing so much, and he kind of stood out to me in this jam last night, so I really enjoyed that, and I also. So RJ was saying this yesterday, that everybody on stage is so overly nice to each other that they're like trying to give each other space so that like sometimes like the jams just don't work out because they're just like trying not to step on each other's toes. And we've seen that with Ray and Peter, where Ray is encouraging Peter to play more. Like, dude, like, come on, just like go. And I think last night, specifically in this jam, Peter was just like, I'm just going to go. And I'm going to do my thing. And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. That's so great. Yeah. This is not one of my favorite songs, but I think they've been just playing the hell out of it on this tour. I think it's been sounding really great. There's just something about it that just is weird to me, but.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like it. After this, we get the plasma finally, you know.
Yes, been
the
waiting
pod
for
delivers
this.
Once again. Thank you to our speculation. Obviously, you know, that probably wasn't the reason they played it, but you know, we can say it was. But really, I really love the way that they kind of ease into this song with Tab. You know, with Fish, it's usually Trey starting up the riff, but last night it was just, you know, Russ and Desron just kind of just like ooze into it, and everyone else just kind of is doing stuff. I really love the way, you know, when Ray switches to that like distorted organ sound. If people don't notice, he has, I think, 2 or 3 Fender amps in his rig, one for the Clab, one for the organ, and I think one for the Wurlitzer as well. And so he's got a button where he can reroute the organ from being just straight Leslie regular organ sound to coming through the guitar amp as well, which is what gives it that, you know, distorted sound. And I love when he uses that, you know, really great for this Spacey jam.
Yeah, I loved this jam. This is like one of my favorite jams that I feel like they've done in the collaboration so far. Like the descending chords and like even then like the background vocals singing that descending, like that sounded so awesome. I thought this was really like rich and effortless sounding in a way that a lot of the jams haven't sounded to me. So I really liked this plasma jam.
This is awesome. This might be one of my favorite things they've done together.
Yeah,
and,
me too.
I've been waiting for them to just kind of let loose and just do something weird, and this was it. It's, I think Rick did a really good job of just peppering notes in with what Trey was doing, and the result was pretty awesome. It wasn't like the twin lead thing. This was just like two guys like making really awesome music, and yeah, I enjoyed this whole entire song. It was pretty awesome, and I can't wait to listen to this one again. I think this is probably, out of like all the Tab collaborations, this is one that I'm going to probably listen to first before like the rest of them. Thought it was so cool. It was just unique. It was very different than all the things that they have done so far. I
agree. Yeah, and I also feel like it gets like the two guitar dueling thing just to me gets a little like one note, so it's really cool. And like, yeah, I just want to hear them like go off and just like go down those dark alleys, Awesome.
Totally. This is like the stuff I've been waiting for. Yeah.
So I'm hoping we get that tonight. Longer. And yeah, Trey's using his synth pedals. Like Rick's doing cool atmospheric stuff. So it was great. And then Trey was not done. I don't know if they were planning on doing Wave of Hope in the encore maybe, but it seemed he was just kind of like, all right, we're doing another tune. And it could have been planned, but it seemed like the kind of thing where Trey was just like, fuck it, we're doing another song. And Wave of Hope was great, more amazing guitar playing, just amazing energy.
Yeah, I like this song as a closer. Mm-hmm. It's a really great closer because it's like ends had such a great refrain that kind of like gets everybody like feeling those like awesome good vibes. I thought this was a great version too. I think the energy in the Tab sets has been overlooked. I think the energy has just been incredible.
Yeah, I thought this was also really cool. This is one that I've noticed a lot of people have been talking about on, in Fish circles. Folks wanted to see the 20-minute version of this. And I think it eventually did come along, right?
It did.
Yeah.
Repeatedly.
Yeah. It's
Hartford.
a jam vehicle.
Were you not at the Hartford show?
I was at the Hartford show.
There was a 24-minute Wave of Hope at that show.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I was there. How about that?
Neil, how could you not remember that off the top of your head?
I saw 3 shows this summer, but I also saw a lot of Goose this summer. So it all kind of melts together.
I'm totally joking because I can't, but that's why we have Ryan. So it's fine.
Yeah, that is why we have Ryan. Well, like especially with Fish, it's just like, I still love seeing them, and I love seeing them a ton, but I still see like a ton more Goose. And then this summer I saw like a bunch more music, and like it's all a blur. Like
other bands? Excuse you.
I saw a bunch of Eggy this year, which like I'm also in love with Eggy. Someday we'll have an Eggy podcast.
Yeah, people are so into Eggy. It's so exciting.
I wasn't. Yeah, until I went to see them live, and I was like, holy shit, these guys are really, really good. And so, I've seen them a bunch too.
You can still see them in pretty small rooms too. Like it was funny when we were doing our HF Pod Lab events in Atlantic City. My friend was like, we were at the venue early getting ready, and my friend was grabbing lunch for us like at this restaurant nearby and bringing it back. And she's like, there's a really good band playing here at this like restaurant. I was like, oh, really? And then she texted me like 5 minutes later, it's actually Eggy. Like they're really good. And they're just like here playing at this restaurant. It was like so funny, but yeah. So it's kind of an exciting time, I think, to see them.
Nice. And they're the ones that have Goose's old touring van, right?
Oh, is that true?
Oh, no way.
I think it was Eggy. I think it was Eggy that had it. It was another one of, people in the community. I think it may have been Eggy.
That's so great.
They're definitely all friends.
Yeah.
I went to see Ben
has worn an Eggy shirt on stage many times.
Yeah. So I went to go see Ben's band Elephant Proof play in Black Rock in Connecticut, and all the Eggy guys were just there watching the show, which was interesting. And well, of course, like in all of the less special guys too, there's the whole like scene there that like they're all they all been hanging out together for a really long time.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's get back on track here and
all right. Tangent,
about last night's show.
Over.
Love a good tangent. Quantity, yes, finally. Very, very happy to hear this last night. I love this song. It sounded great with Rick and Peter. I'm hoping we get the Never Left Home tonight. Nice extended version of that would be amazing. Both kind of similar vibes. But yeah, Quantity is awesome.
Yeah, pretty rare, really cool tune. Super interesting. I love that they busted that out. So fun.
So I think we should talk about how the pod gets results, because this is the second song from last night. Yes, the pod gets results. The
Thanks,
second
Ryan.
song from last night that we talked about yesterday and they played. It's just so weird how that goes down.
Trey listens to the pod. He does.
Yeah, I mean, we were joking about that yesterday too. And I think Jonathan actually made a joke in the moment when we were talking about Plasma. He was like, "Oh yeah, Trey listens to the show." and then they go ahead and play it. And this is like the fourth or fifth or sixth time we've talked about something that we wanted to see. And then the very next day it shows up. I'm sure it's all a
almost
coincidence.
Like we've listened to this band a lot and have an idea of what they might play. I don't know.
Maybe.
It's kind of weird.
There's that part. There's that part as well.
Trey listens. That's the more likely version.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. And then Money, Love, and Change to close out the show. I feel like it's an atypical spot for this song, but I really enjoyed it here. And I love this song. This is one of my first Tab songs that I really loved when I saw them almost 10 years ago. And yeah, just great song, great way to close out the show.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard this as a closer or an encore either, but really fun, super high energy, just like showing off what Tab does best.
It's pretty cool.
And that's last night. We got one more show left. Megan, are you watching the webcast tonight or?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll either watch tonight or I'll listen back tomorrow. It's, TBD. Got to see where the day takes me. But I'm sad this is over. I'm excited to be on the pod tomorrow and talk to you guys. I'm sad that this collaboration is ending soon. But, this has been so fun getting to talk to you guys and getting to learn so much about Goose. I mean, I've listened to Goose every day, through this whole run, and that's never happened before. So that's been really fun. Like, I feel like I've learned so much about Goose and have so much more to learn, but it's been awesome.
Yeah. And tomorrow we're going to have a great group of hosts on. I think there are going to be a lot of us. I don't want to jinx anything, but for any of you always almost there fans out there,
be careful.
For any of you always almost there fans out there, the elusive Kev is slated to be making an appearance on tomorrow's pod. So get excited for that. We are very excited because we miss potting with Kev and we love potting with Kev. Well, thank you everybody for listening.
I just want to connect one more thing before you wrap up. Like, I also want to express my gratitude for being on this podcast and this collaboration. It's nice to work with some consummate professionals after working with Ryan for so long. Just kidding. But no, this has been so amazing, so much fun. And so grateful to, HF Pod to, have us on as collaborators, and so grateful to the guys in the Great Beyond, and actually got to see those guys a bunch early on in this tour. So this whole thing has been such a blast.
It's been amazing.
Music aside, just doing this whole thing has been so much fun. So thank you. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you guys. This has been so awesome. I'm so glad we got to do it, and hopefully they'll do it again, and we'll get to do this again.
100%. I would love to do that. I think whether there's another Taboos tour or not, I think we will need to pod together again at some point, because this is just too much fun.
And I think if they have another Taboos tour, we need to do a live event. All of us.
Ooh, I think so. We can call it a business trip and charge it to an imaginary business that has all the
Storm Sound is going to foot the bill.
The show. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Big mushroom money.
With all that big mushroom money. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we will be back here tomorrow, same time, same place. Come join us as we talk about the final show of the tour, which will be very bittersweet for us. Looking forward to tonight. Neil and I, and hopefully Megan, if you're webcasting tonight, we will be tweeting during the show, as always. Come hang out on Twitter, as I said yesterday, while it's still there.
Well, it's
still can.
But yes, everybody have a fantastic rest of your Saturday, and we will see you tomorrow.
Osiris.